Welcome to Ask Gwen, everyone. This morning with me, I have Leslie, and she is going to share her story with you guys. So I'm going to Miss Leslie take it away and start sharing her story.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Gwen, for having me on today. I'm really glad to be here. I am an author, a fiction author, and a story clarity coach. And what that means is that I help other authors to basically get their stories written. Um, on a technical level, I can do everything from coaching them on how to develop a daily writing habit so that, we're setting them up for success in their author careers, to, helping them put all the elements they need into their book that will position it to be a bestseller, like doing storycraft and everything that it needs to include, and then also marketing. But in terms of my story, I kind of got into this because I've always loved stories. I've always gotten lost in stories. I've always had my nose in a book. I was always a bookworm growing up. You could always find me alone in my room with a book reading. That's just kind of always how I was. And I've come to believe over the years that stories are really, they're such an integral part of who we are as human beings. I believe stories heal people better than anything else can. Of course, they entertain us. Of course, they teach us things. But I really think that they're necessary for us on a spiritual level and a psychological level. They give us hope. They help strengthen our resolve. So if we can, watch characters overcoming their trials, then it gives us not only more hope that we can overcome ours, but it gives us strength and sort of recharges our batteries so that we can get back to our own lives, which are not, always peaceful and wonderful, as we all know, especially in this year of 2020. But of course, it applies to, my specialty is fiction stories because I'm a novelist, I'm a fiction author, but it also applies to nonfiction stories. What I always tell my clients is that human beings consume stories in exactly the same way all the time. And I don't mean the medium, I mean psychologically, the way in which we relate to stories. And that's why it's so important to tell a story in a certain way. It's really not about what you're telling in your story, it's about how you're positioning it so that, your readers or your audience, whoever that is, can really identify with it and connect with it and absorb it in kind of a natural way. So that's kind of what I help readers to do. And in terms of creating like an author career, that is what really creates fans, mega fans, and keeps people coming back for more of your stories. So we can kind of discuss it on a psychological level and also on a more professional level.
And it's so funny because people are actually waiting for me to get to the East Coast because, which is true, you guys, I promised them not one, but 2 books coming out of me. And it's amazing to see, talk about mega fans, when you say that I'm going to write this book. People like, where's your book? I want to read the 12th and 13th book out of you.
Yeah. When you, I totally agree. When you learn how to do this and do it well, that's, you almost can't keep people from, um, clawing their way to your work. And that's what's really, really great about it.
Yeah, that's the really great thing about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, what has been your favorite client that you have worked with? And then I'm going to ask you, what has been the least favorite client that you have worked with?
Well, let's see. My first response is that I love all my clients. It's hard to pick one. But no, I was coaching someone recently who also happened to be a friend and fellow writer. And what was really fun was I was kind of coaching her through how to do her story. And when I do that, I can throw out suggestions. It's actually really, really valuable to have other writers to sort of bounce ideas off. And so that's a lot of what I do for my clients. But I also just kind of try to use questions to get them to think about it so that they're not, leaning on my suggestions or anything. And I was asking her, what the climax of her story looked like, and she really didn't know. She was trying to figure that out. And so I threw out a suggestion. I said, you've got so much of your story that's about this, without going into too much detail. About it was like about a tower, and it's very involved. And I said, well, is the tower going to fall down at the end, or is it going to be destroyed, or is it going to stay up? And I just like watched her eyes light up as this whole new world she hadn't thought of opened up for her story. And that's always really gratifying and really, really fun to see that happen with your clients. So that's the one that comes to mind for something recently that I really loved doing. In terms of the ones that I haven't liked working with, I don't think I've had a client just yet. I'm sure I will at some point, that's been really, really terrible to work with. I actually get on calls with people before I decide whether we will be a good fit, because of course, you have to find clients that you fit with. My style is not going to be for everyone. And so I'm pretty good at weeding people out if I can tell that they're not going to be a good fit. But the ones that are hard are the ones that are really stuck in their ways and basically aren't open to learning how to do this in a different way. And again, I wouldn't say they were terrible clients. They were just very, very closed-minded about it. I rely pretty heavily on outlining, because I believe you need to know your characters pretty well and know where it's going. The other thing that I teach is being able to get your book written in 90 days or less, and that's really hard to do with pantsers and discovery writers. So understand, I believe that anybody can learn how to do what I do and write a book in 90 days, even if you're a pantser, even if you're somebody who takes a long time. It's really just a mindset shift. And I'm actually asking you to do the exact same thing that you do when you're pantsing or discovering. It's just speeding it up and streamlining it, and just learning how to do that. So I'd say the harder clients to work with are the ones that are more stubborn and set in their ways with their process, and aren't as open-minded to learning something new and learning to do what needs to be done to streamline their process and really, shift the way that they do things. But that doesn't make them terrible clients. It just means that they're set in their ways, which I respect, but I try to help them do things that will build their backlist a little bit faster, and, just kind of create a career for them, rather than being someone who dabbles and only puts out a book every, 2 or 3 years, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, no. We're in this for a long haul. It's go big or go home. And
Hmm.
so we're in this for a long haul. And that being said, what is your favorite book?
Oh, my favorite book. Oh, good heavens. Um, I usually say, so this is kind of interesting. I write several different genres. I am still an author, even though I'm a coach now. I still write my own fiction. And I grew up on high fantasy. I grew up in a major high fantasy family. In fact, one of my earliest memories is being a little kid. I was probably 5, and my dad loved Lord of the Rings. He fell in love with it in high school, which would have been in the 70s for him. And he had read it so often that he had the books memorized, not like word for word, but just the plot, the elements of it. And so he would sit at night in my room against the door frame and tell me and my sister stories of Frodo and the Ring before we went to bed. That's, like I said, that's one of my earliest memories. So I have not actually published a high fantasy up until now, but I am getting ready to publish my first one. I've published several other genres, leading up to this. So high fantasy tends to be probably my favorite. And I would say, I don't know that I have a single favorite book, but the Wheel of Time series is, I always say that's kind of my all-time favorite series. It's a high fantasy doorstopper type series, if anybody's not familiar with that. But it's also a very long series. There's like 14 books in that series, so it's hard to pin it down to just one. But I think that's the one that really influenced me the most, and that I still really love.
And then if you had to move and only take 5 things with you, what would they be?
Wow. If I had to move, does this include technology?
Yep, this
Okay.
includes technology, includes family members, includes animals.
Okay. Well, I have a lot of family members, so um, like more than 5. So obviously, my first choice would probably be my family members. Um, and if I had to take anything else, it would probably just be either my phone or my laptop, so that I could do my writing and my reading and
Yeah,
just cart it along with me.
yeah, just got it along with you. Good. And so, if your best friend had to write a book about you, what would the title be?
Oh, about me. It would probably be something about, I mean, I'm a very dedicated writer, and I teach a lot about character transformation. And that's what you can find me doing most of the time, either in my free time, either reading or writing or researching something like that. So maybe a title something like Transformational Reader or um, Writing for Transformation. I don't know, something like that.
Writing for transformation. I love it. And so, as we wrap this interview up, where could people find you and where could people get a hold of you if they choose to do so?
So I have a website. It is authorlkhill.com. So it's my initials. And if you go to the main page, there's a button both for readers and for writers, depending on which thing you're interested in. So you can usually get a hold of me through that, or you can just email me directly. And my email is lkhillbooks@gmail.com. I'm also on Instagram a lot, and I actually do have two different Instagram accounts. One of them is same thing, LK Hill Books, which is for readers. I have a podcast called The Prolific Writer, and obviously that's geared toward writers. And so my Instagram handle for writers is The Prolific Writer. So you can find me in any of those places. I'm all over the place.
And you guys, you pretty much know how to subscribe to a podcast by now. So please, please, please go subscribe to Leslie's podcast and please leave her review in Apple Podcast. All that does is it leads people over to her podcast because the more reviews they see, the better off they're more likely to listen.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, well, you're welcome for that. And as we wrap this interview up, do you have any questions for me?
Well, you are a writer yourself, so I guess my only question is, how have you seen your stories impact people? And why don't you just say a line or two about that?
Well, I have seen my my public facing work impact people in the way that they have told me that when I love your book, I've learned so much about cerebral palsy from you.
Nice.
And yes, the book that I'm actually speaking of, the 10-year-old book, mind you, um, is available on Amazon. It's I Win, and it's available in audio. And as I said, once I get to the East Coast, you guys, I will be punking away at two other books. One of them, actually, three other books. One of them is going to be a podcasting book. The other one is going to be a sort of like a Nancy Drill mystery novel geared towards people with disabilities. And then the other one is going to be a self help journalism book. And so be on the lookout for that. And you guys can also follow me on Amazon or follow me under my name on Amazon, and then you guys can also follow my website, askwin.weebelize.com. And of course, we'll have all of Leslie's information in the show notes. And I truly appreciate Leslie coming on and sharing her story and getting it all out there. And I truly appreciate you guys liking and subscribing and doing all that good stuff. So the more we can help independent content creators, especially book authors, it makes me happy. And same thing, if you pick up one of Leslie's books on Amazon, please leave a review. All that does is puts up in the Amazon algorithm charts, and hopefully she'll hit number one. I hope. That's my hope. And tell us the latest book that you're writing, the title of it, Leslie, so that my team can keep an eye out for it.
Sorry, did you ask me a question?
The latest book title that you're working on?
Oh, that I'm working on. Okay. Yeah, like I said, I'm working on my high fantasy book, Dragon Magic. It will be out probably in the next 3 months or so. But I'm also finishing up my Intercron series. So let's see. The next book that will be out in January is called Event Horizon, and that is the fourth book in the Intercron series. But I've got two more after that, so I'm finishing up
Okay.
a 6 book series right now.
And in the Intercon series, can they be standalone books, or do you have to pick the whole series up to get the gist of it?
For Intercron, you kind of have to start at the first book because one feeds into another. So the
Yeah.
first book in that series is called Persistence of Vision. Um, I have a couple of other standalone books in other genres, but that particular one is more meant to be read as a series.
Yep. And Dragon Magic, um, I presume it is a standalone book.
No, it won't be. It's going to be the first book in a series, but that
Okay.
one, it's just
So
the first
yeah,
one. I don't have one out yet.
it's
So
going to be the first one in the series.
mhm.
So basically, people, you have to go buy series on Amazon now because and spend money on Amazon. I love you people because I make people spend money. But as I said, it's Christmas, so let's support independent publishers and independent content creators. Let's make people happy. And as I said, I appreciate you guys tuning in and paying attention, and I hope you guys enjoyed another fabulous episode of Ask Win with Leslie and myself. And let me know if you guys have any questions, or reach out to Leslie and get the book started in 2021. Now is the time to write those books, you guys, and just put the pen to paper and then have Leslie help you craft the story, and then we'll see how it goes. Bye, you guys. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.